What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick Dang with the Parallax, and today I got a special friend, a special guest. It's someone that I have been following for quite some time in the NFT space. Even when I first started in the NFT space, I followed this person on Twitter who read his threads. He launched a project back then. He's continuing to build even now, which I highly respect. So today we have Wil, founder of the Littles. How you doing, Wil?
Very well. Thank you, Patrick. You've been so kind to me. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for coming on. So for a lot of people who, are getting into the NFT space, might be new, if you were to describe the Littles just so they have an idea of like what it is, what it's about, like how would you, quickly describe that?
I would say the Littles is a children's entertainment company. We have three pillars that we focus on: animation, gaming, merchandise, toys.
Okay. Yeah, that's quick and simple. Okay. So it's like, actually for you, but I think people want to get to know who you are as a founder before we even get to like what the Littles is about, because who the founder is probably the most important, right? Like, how'd you even like get into like NFTs and crypto?
Oh, dude, I was a degen. Definitely a degen. I've been in crypto since 2017. Never really understood it. It was very transactional for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I've heard of NFTs the first time, which was Beeple selling his painting for $69 million. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like major wash trading. And then I'm like, what, let's put that aside. And the second time I heard about it was Top Shot. And the third time I heard about it, I'm like, you know what, I have to jump in, because I'm like, as an entrepreneur myself for the last 10 years,
Yeah.
if you hear about something like once or twice, it usually is a cue to be like paying a little bit more attention to it. Rarely do I even take courses about coding and whatnot, because I'm like, I'm not interested in coding.
Sure.
But because the technology itself really sparked my interest about how this is the next wave following the whole internet phase. And for me, being an entrepreneur for the last 10 years, I've always felt like I missed the wave.
Interesting.
And if only I had the opportunity
Yeah.
to ride that wave back then, that would be incredible.
Sure.
And so I've always wanted to do something in NFTs or crypto, but I didn't know what it was because I'm not really into coding.
Yeah.
Nothing really moved me.
Yeah.
It wasn't until last summer when I was at the park with my 2.5-year-old daughter. She was just on the top of the slide, her chest puffed up in the most confident, brattiest, authentic, joyous, simple ways, where I'm like, wow, that is pure joy, pure happiness. And I'm like, if only we can capture that essence and deliver it to the people amongst the 9 to 5, the chaos in the world, that would be something that I would be super, super inspired to do. And that's kind of what really allowed me to hold on to that drive, the purpose, and my why to continue to develop the Littles and start the Littles.
Okay. We'll get into that in a second. But like, I guess you said that you're an entrepreneur for 10 years, right? But then you felt like you always missed the wave, I guess the internet wave, right? And so for people that don't know, like, what were you doing for the last 10 years? Was it like I kind of have an idea, but like, go ahead and share your story.
I'm actually an Asian carny. Asian carnival games operator. Literally ring toss, the knockoffs, anything that you can think of. We have 60 different games. We build the games, we operate the games, we source the inventory, and basically it's the entire thing that we do. So every season we have around 50 to 60 different games. That's been operating for the last 10, 11 years by now.
So actually that's still running. That's still going as you do all this stuff.
It's still running. Yeah. I have an entire team that operates that now, and I spend probably like an hour a month just looking at the numbers and everything. And quite frankly, I think this will be my last year.
Oh, wow. Well, it makes sense though.
Yeah, I think it's time to reinvent myself. It's time to evolve as an entrepreneur. And I've finally found something that I truly enjoy doing, which is the Littles. Aside from the carnival games that I've been operating, I would say 5-6 years ago, we also started an ice cream shop. Started it within the first 3 months. We sold 2 franchises. And by the time we exited, we had 7 locations and was very lucky to be able to exit that pre-COVID. So
pre-COVID. Okay. Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Actually, I was just talking to a friend of mine last week. When I shared this story, for me, it felt like that everything that I was doing didn't really make sense. There's no overlap. He was just like, no. What you've been doing has always been about delivering happiness, from carnival games to ice cream, food and beverage. Now the Littles, it's always about that joy and happiness. And I didn't realize I was so gravitated towards this experience I want to deliver. After 10 plus years, I finally found something that I can call my passion, which is the Littles.
Great. Okay, so you got some Web2 experience. You're moving into Web3. Was a degen. You had the story of like your daughter was on the slide, she was puffing her chest, and you're like, we need to capture that, put it in a bottle, metaphorically, right? And then like that's an NFT project, right? Just curious, were you always thinking about launching your own project, like as you were DJing into different things, or was it just like a moment where you're like,
100%.
okay, so you're like, what's the opportunity, pretty much, right?
I gave myself at least 3 months time frame because like
Mm-hmm.
being an entrepreneur, you always have that itch of taking action. That's your blessing, is that you see an opportunity, you jump into it. And when I got into NFTs, I knew it was an opportunity, but at the same time, I wanted to protect myself against myself. And I made a commitment even to my wife. I'm like, hey, you know what? I will trade, but I would never start a business in this, not until like 3 to 4 months in. That was my commitment because I really wanted to find something that was not just an opportunity, but rather something that meant something more than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is why I clearly remember that day so vividly because I was in search for it, but it just sparked. It was just, this is it. And it was just like everything clicked at that moment for me.
Gotcha. It's just, yeah, it's like the right
Yeah.
moment, the right time. Yeah, I know. I understand. I understand. I
Hmm.
feel like I was the same way where, I still have like a business around like sales training and things like that. But then when I start to see NFTs, I'm like, okay, well, what can I do in this space? And I was like, oh, I'll just do the same thing. I'll just create content in the space. And here we are doing an interview, right?
There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Now that you kind of had the idea of like, okay, the Littles, and then you had this concept, right? Like, what do you do from there? Like, how do you turn that kind of raw concept into something like an NFT that people can see and understand? And it's quite like an abstract idea of like someone playing, right?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting journey of discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that because it was purely an idea, I felt like a little hobbit just kind of running around, hitting different walls and different opportunities to see, like, hey, does this fit? Does this business model work?
Mm-hmm.
Does this stack on top of each other well? So originally for us, we wanted to create a on-chain game
Mm-hmm.
because that was all the autometa. But at the same time, I'm like, how can we zoom out a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, hey, instead of on-chain game, let's create a Maple Story side scroller type of MMO experience.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know anything about gaming, and gaming itself is not the one thing and be it and be all. Like there needs to be a storyline to it. That's how people get their emotional attachment to it, and that's where the value is. And then from there onwards, I did a lot of studying, looking into different IPs. I'm like, hey, you know what? If I'm wanting to create an IP, what do I need to do? And then that's when I realized that animation is going to be such a big cornerstone because the story itself is where the money's at. And that's
Mm.
where, if you can truly move people with your story, it would be like the next Marvel,
Yeah, I got you. Kind of
right?
like if you have like Star Wars, or for example,
Yeah,
right? If people love the movie, you can make a video game, merchandise.
anything. Like you can monetize later on, but truly the essence and the soul of everything is the story piece. That was in the same time where I met Keith Grossman, from the president of Time. I saw that he just signed Pablo from Robotos, and I'm like, wow, if only one day we can get signed by Keith and partner up with them and to create an animation, that would be like life changing.
Mm-hmm.
Our project launched on November 25th of last year.
Yeah.
My son Weston was born December the 5th, 10 days apart from the
Oh,
project.
wow. Yeah, that's,
And I still remember, it's crazy. It's like literally having twins,
yeah.
like meta twins and in real life
Sure,
twin.
sure.
I was literally in the labor room talking to Keith and us just jamming about IPs. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like it could be a possibility. And long behold, within like 2 months' time after the holidays, we got into an official partnership where we partnered up with Time Studio to create an animation
Yeah.
featuring my daughter, Jordy, which is the entire inspiration of the Littles.
Oh, wait, that's crazy.
And I'm like, wow, within 2, 3 months, we were able to go full circle. That was when I realized that I need to take this seriously and I need to give it everything that I have.
Okay.
And that's when I put into motion of selling my business and making sure that I'm laying the foundation so then that way this is going to be my last year in my carnival games business because the Littles is something that I'm just so gravitated towards because the meaning is so much more different. It's a very selfish piece of mine because now I get to document my daughter's entire life journey. And that's the story that we're going to be portraying and telling in the animation series.
Got you. Let's go ahead and take a couple steps back before we dive into like all the IP and the deal with like time and stuff. When you launched it at that time, I remember when you did, the landing page was like, you set the expectation was that, you should have no expectations, right? Which is,
Hmm.
I think, a smart thing where it's like, if you don't make big promises, nobody can say like, oh, you didn't do this and that, right? And you can just build in silence. And then when it comes out, it comes out. So at that time, when you did launch, did you like have a clear idea of like, oh, like we're going to do IP, we're going to do this? Or was it more like you were discovering what you could do?
I think both. I think both. Like we obviously had a roadmap, and that's the reason how we were able to get Cyberkongz, Cool Cats, Subducks, and Kaiju Kingz as our partners. But I felt like in this space there were so many bad actors where
Mm,
they hype out their project to a unproportional amount. Speculation is through the roof,
hmm.
that it was unfair for the people that didn't understand sales, that didn't understand the predatory tactics. And which is the reason why, even the day before we launched, I very clearly stated on my Twitter, I'm like, hey, you know what? If you wanted any returns from this, please don't mint this. Like, this is purely an art-based project, because foundationally, like, if we strip apart everything, this is truly what it is. Not to say I don't have big plans or big visions for it, but I just want it to be super truthful for people, because ultimately I want to be able to sleep well at night. I want to make sure that my daughter is going to be proud of what we're creating. I don't need this to be financially free and everything. That's not the reason why we're doing it. Of course, since we launched, the vision that we have from there really took off, and it really challenged me to think bigger, continually
Mm,
thinking bigger and continually expanding, zooming out of not just Web3. Because when you're just in Web3, you are like, hey, degen, and you're like, oh my God, there's this project, there's that project. You know, if only this, if only that, and like all these kind of hopium starts to pile up, and
mm,
all these noise buries you into this echo chamber,
yeah.
because it seems like entire feed is just all that. That was really blinding. So as a leader and as a founder, I feel like that we need to have the ability to continually zoom out. And if we want to be able to make this into a legacy brand, we need to continually to zoom out to see what is that bigger picture looking like. How can we impact more people, and to lay the foundations for that.
Got you, got you. Okay, so it's kind of like you set low expectations in the beginning. You're like, hey, if you want a
Hmm.
10x, this is not the project for you. Only buy if this
Hmm.
is you resonate with it, right? Which is fair. Yeah, I get it. Once you mint, there's like you find some success. You're like, okay, well, this is it could be bigger than I thought, right? Kind of thing, right?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of project founders probably feel the same way, right? When there's a lot of excitement, momentum, and you have more funds, it's like, oh, we can hire people, we can do this and that. As you continue on the journey, you're thinking like more on the IP side, the story side. How does a relationship with like time work? You know, because it's not like everybody can just mint a project and be like, hey, let's do a whatever, a movie or whatever. Or how did it happen for you?
I think for me, because I was very value driven, and I understand the importance of values. Before even I minted the project, I've been very consistent in delivering value. I've been very consistent in understanding that this is a project that I'm building in public, and that I'm committing my career to this. And I'm zooming out of not just the littles. I'm like, hey, you know what? I want to be able to impact the space in a very positive way, that in a decade's time, I'm going to be one of the pioneers. I have not taken any shills, any promotions, no nothing. And that really laid the cornerstone of someone who has a following at that time, not shilling, giving value to community. And at the same time, very value driven. And like for me, even on my PFP, it was my face amongst the entire feed, which was animal pictures and PFPs. I want to be able to stand out. And my way of standing out is just being me.
Mm,
Like, I have nothing to hide behind.
hmm.
And that itself, just being me, was able to attract other real players. And Keith really appreciated that. And that's when we started that conversation. And for him, because he's leading such a legacy brand like Time,
Hmm.
as such an iconic brand,
Hmm.
he needs to associate with people that are real as well.
Yeah.
We were at the right place at the right time, and that just really clicked. His
Yeah.
daughter minted our littles and liked what we stand for, and continued on that relationship.
Yeah. Wait, were you guys like already friends from before, or is it like after mint
No,
that?
of course, like, I'm a nobody, right? Like, I'm like, oh my God, it's Keith, it's the president. But he would drop into our Discord once in a while, and I'm like, man, this guy is so cool. He's always supporting the grassroots community. He was very strategic in making sure that he's finding the right IPs to acquire and to partner up with. And we just so
Mm.
happened to be on his radar.
I see. So they
Yeah.
wanted to be more involved in NFTs at that time. So they were just looking like, okay, like we want to do this, but we need some help, right? So who are the people that we can trust? Pretty much, right?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think so. Because they just started Time Studio not long ago, and they want to be able to make investment in this field. So I think I would say like 80-90% of it was luck. And the other 20% was just being authentic and being real. And the rest is just how timing really matches together.
I mean, that's life though, right? Like sometimes you just keep showing up, doing the right thing, and then the opportunities come to you, pretty much, right? So now that Keith is in, Time is in, what are you guys making exactly, right? Like some people don't know. Is it like going to be a animated series? Is it going to be a movie, a comic book, or you can't say yet?
It's an animation series. Last month, we got an official partnership with Nelvana. Nelvana is one of the biggest animation studios in Toronto, in Canada, actually, for that matter. They have like 200 to 300 animators in house. Chorus Entertainment owns Nelvana.
And Chorus has entire distribution across Canada, from YTV to Cartoon Network. They're the ones that did Care Bears, Sesame Street, and whatnot. We are one of the IPs that have financing, and right now we're slated for production, and not just a pilot. We're slated for multi-episode series. That's what we're working on right now.
Gotcha. So you guys are creating this series, and it's going to be all over TV, like Cartoon Network and stuff like that, which is great, amazing,
Just
right? Huge.
back up a little bit. I'm just saying that they own these networks.
Oh, okay.
Their plan is to continually to create this IP, so then that way they can get more distribution in the States and worldwide. Worst comes to worst, they still have their own distribution where they can recoup their own investment for the production, right? But I don't know which networks, so I want to just be very careful. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So there's the opportunity to be on these different places, but it's not guaranteed because there's a whole process of like, do they want the show? What's the competition like? All that stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I appreciate you being transparent with that and not overhyping it, right? Because people need to know the like what it really is. And then with the IP, I'm curious to know, like, you want the story to be out there, you want people to fall in love with the characters, right? And then from like a business angle, like, is the idea that once people watch the show, there's opportunities to like do a game, do something, maybe partner with another studio who's like an expert at that thing, and you can focus on storytelling? Is that the route that you're thinking? Or
totally. So within the animation route, my role is the executive producer. So the storyline, really everything goes through me specifically for the storyline. We are very intentful, and something that I'm learning so much from Maria Perez Brown. She's the head of the Time Studio, and basically what we're doing right now we're very cautiously developing the characters with the merchandise, from the shoes to the sweaters to the backpacks. Because once the show is out, that's when we're going to be able to leverage a lot of different avenues for monetization, right, to the mainstream. And that's really the route that we're taking specifically on the animation route with Time.
Interesting. So you design the characters in the show so that they can also look good on a backpack or a shoe or a sticker.
Sorry, rather, the character itself would be wearing a backpack.
Okay.
And the character itself is wearing a sweater.
Okay.
And because they're wearing a sweater, the kids watching the show would be like, oh my God, mommy, I would love one of that backpack.
Yeah.
I would love those shoes. I would love that sweater. And it's something that I'm like, wow, you embed these moments right from the get-go. And it's like every time I have meetings with them, I'm learning so much, because Maria Perez Brown, she's been in this trade for 20 plus years. She's taught at Brown University, and this is like her thing. She's like top of the game. So everything that we're doing right now is very strategic in a way that, yes, we're creating an animation series, but they already have the network for selling books. They have the network for selling into like food items, like, like Eggo, all the other food that has IP on it, from merchandising to major distributions and whatnot. So a little bit jumping ahead of the gun, but nonetheless, there's a lot of monetization route that we can take. First and foremost, we just need to make sure that we create something that people connect with.
Yeah.
It's going to be like a cocoa melon, but because of me being Asian and we're basically a modern family, how is that dynamic being
like represented?
Represented? There you go. How is that dynamic being represented in a North American culture? There are the nuances with, and it's not just like about the very traditional way of being an Asian parent where you gotta like bow, like the tea and like all this kind of stuff. No, it's like, what does a modern parent do? And because that's who we are, we can sell that, and we can attract the Asian millennial parents in North America, which is a huge population altogether, whereas other people cannot do that.
No, there definitely is advantage to that. And also that's true. Like, think about like what are the popular TV series back in the day? Like, I'm thinking like Jackie Chan. Do you see that one where it's like the cartoon one? But that's like there's the uncle that's like super Asian, and it's like, that makes sense for that context. But then the world has changed so much over the last like 10, 20 years that like those stereotypes are, it's not really fair to use those stereotypes to represent the entire community, right?
Exactly. So just what's the modern way of doing it? And that's where, strategically speaking, business-wise, it's very, very smart. And also, it's so real. This entire process is so authentic and it's so genuine, and it's like everything kind of fits into the slot.
Got it. Now, one question that I personally have is like, the Littles as an NFT project, it launches, people buy it, right? And then they're buying a collectible to join the ride of maybe helping the Littles build this IP and supporting, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're making like a children's show, right? So it's going to be on Cartoon Network, or not
Mm-hmm.
going to be, but it could be on Cartoon Network and other channels like that. So these are kids that are going to be watching it, right? So I'm always curious to know, like, how does the NFT connect to the show, right? Because they kind of seem like different audiences, right? To be fair.
I agree with you to a certain degree. And I think like NFT itself is not a product. People see NFT itself as a product, but rather I see it as a vehicle to deepen a relationship with you and your consumers. I feel like that because we as parents, me as being a parent of two, I control what my kids watch. And if there is a brand that I resonate with, I wouldn't mind sitting. And actually, I sit and watch TV
Yeah.
with my kid every single day. And I choose what she watches every day. The NFT itself, the Littles, is a badge of honor. It's a resource tool. It's a membership where they can actually do something with their kids. And the NFT would unlock multiple different value prop, VIP treatment as we continue to develop and actually build value, right? A lot of people have asked us, it's like, hey, Will, well, why don't you do a token, right? Like, and then of course I'm like, well, if I do a token right now, we could have made a killing, but it would have died really, really fast.
Sure.
And the brand would be gone. And I feel like that in order for us to develop and give real value to real life people, we need to start build our foundation first. And when the foundation is built, let's say for example where it's being distributed and build a bear in multiple different stores, then we can start to give back to our NFT supporters that, hey, you know what, if you have an NFT, you get to have the build a bear, to go into any build a bear and build your own bear completely free of charge. These are the ways that we can reward loyal consumers and loyal people that supports us from the animation standpoint, right? And as we continue to grow, we can add on more and more value props. But without that, I don't see that airdropping another series or tokens is of any benefit for the brand.
Yeah, I got you. So instead of like playing the whole buy this NFT and you get another NFT kind of game, you're more just like, hey, let's just build a real business. And then this is like kind of the membership into the club. And then as we build the IP, or you guys build the IP, there would be certain benefits that you get with that.
Exactly. And the way that I see it is like, if only you were the top 1,000 people that has Genesis Pokemon when it first grew, what would that look like? Right? The Pokemon franchise would have all the incentive to make sure that they treat their first 1,000 loyal fans the best, because they are their best marketing people out there.
Advocates.
Right? So,
gotcha.
Advocates, there you go. And as you continue to build, it's like a rising ship raises the tide, or the other way around.
A rising ship.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
So the digital ownership part is what really amazes me. And this is the game that we're playing, not playing the game of, just on chain and just play that the other side of the true degen Web3 game. I want to zoom out to play a game that has much more longevity.
Yeah. The people that may be interested in holding a Littles, buying a Littles, they would kind of be the people that support the brand. Like maybe they see a future in it. And also it could be people that maybe they're raising kids and they're like, hey, this is a team that I believe in. They're probably going to make something good on TV where it's not like something that they don't want their kids to watch, right? And then they can be a part of that club.
Totally. And I think it goes beyond just parents. It's the values that we embrace. Like it could be anyone that aspire to have a family, for example, or aspire to have these values that we portray, the being authentic, seeking happiness, and just having fun. Like these are the things that we wear on our sleeves. And if people resonate with that, come and join the club, and we get to build the stories together, and we get to have input. We get to invite them into our lore, into our universe. The Littles is just one franchise, but we get to be able to grow this together.
I see. Okay. I gotcha. Now, there's many NFT projects that want to do IP, right? In all different types of niches, which is fine, right? Because I think there needs to be good IP moving forward in the future. Now, one question I always have is like, if somebody purchased a little, let's say like now, right? And then they understand like, okay, to do an IP, to do a series, make it, to distribute it. And then by the time it's on TV, it might be some time, right? We don't know when. For people that do want to support and they love the mission, they love the values, is there a reason why they should, let's say, hold for a long duration of time? Because they can just buy it right before the TV show comes out, right?
I think that's part of the reason why we recently just launched our Dreamspace.
Okay.
Think of it as like a benefit portal. This is where you get to send your Littles to Dream, which is our version of staking, gasless. For instance, you send your Littles to Dream for 30 days, and 30 days later, it unlocks a star badge. And this star badge is 6 months free, calm meditation app free of charge subscription.
Okay.
This is an example of how we can get to add value back to our holders on the
Okay.
short term.
Gotcha.
Right. Aside from calm meditation app, let's say like currently we have officially signed a business course that if people want to be able to learn how to do business, there is a business course from a renowned, I wouldn't say guru because they actually have made hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're going to be able to get access to that and unlock how to build an NFT series from, let's say, Zeneca. So Zeneca is one that we have officially signed as well.
Oh, so these are like official partnerships, right?
Official partnerships. Yeah. Like Zeneca has already agreed to that, and like you'll be able to unlock these features. We want to be able to target how can we help you build wealth? How can we help you have better health? How can we better your relationships? 3 different pillars. And if you're looking into Dreamspace alone, our vision for Dreamspace is that it itself is a portal strong enough that you would want to share it with your friends that are not into crypto, that they're just purely seeing the suite of services and they're like, wow, this is so freaking cool. I get to have these services. And another thing that we also have is, this is also official, is that if you send your Littles to Dream, another benefit you can unlock is you get to be able to write a Solidity contract completely free of charge. Whereas people devs charge tens of thousands of dollars contracts.
Oh wait, so like you help them write the contract, or?
So there's a platform that we have official partnership with that they are sponsoring it. So you can actually use that platform, create your own Solidity contract free of charge because you hold a Littles. So for us, it only starts here. Now, imagine as we continue to expand and bring on multiple different Web2 brands, and we become that on-ramp for the Web2 brands wanting to get into Web3, but then they don't know how. Well, we as a brand is super safe, family friendly, and it's risk-free for them to sponsor us, either discount or full on items or services and whatnot for our members.
Oh, okay, I got you. So like the short term, they can actually get like education, right? Health, wealth, relationships, which are like the 3 pillars of like, right? So it's like there's media benefit. So like people actually get something, right? And then they're kind of just also holding for the long term as well, because they're like, okay, well, I like the values. I think the IP might take off. So short term, I'm getting education. Long term, this IP might be something, right?
Just to be completely transparent with you, as we continue to develop, that's when we get to add more value. We always think about it like how can we add more value to our community members? Not from a standpoint of just, once again, airdrops, raffles, and whatnot, but like, for example, we have partnership with Casetify. We have partnership with American Eagle. How can we utilize those relationships and add those benefits to our community members, right? From real life brand standpoint, and not extracting value, but rather giving more value to community members is the goal.
Got you. Okay, fair enough. The next thing I want to talk about, you have a new mint coming up.
Yes.
Yeah, so like you already have a collection. Obviously, you're trying to build value for the short term and the long term, which is good to keep people happy now and happy in the future. So where does this new mint, come into play and everything, right? And then why do you need a new mint,
Beautiful, nice question. For us, this is our second pillar, pretty much. Second pillar is gaming. We aspire to create the next Club Penguin type of experience. Our vision is to become the Mario of Web3. So then that way, not only is it animation, but also gaming, is that with the gaming aspect, we're currently developing multiple different casual gaming experiences, mini games like Mario Party, and a side scroller type of environment. So if you go into our Dreamspace right now, we can drop a link later on. You're going to be able to see what that looks like and that experience is like. And our goal is to be able to create that type of experience for the next run.
Okay.
I believe that there's a lot of opportunity from that angle, and which is the reason why we're developing that. Now, to answer your question, why are we doing a free mint? Currently, we have partnership with Cyberkongz, Cool Cats, Subducks, and Kaiju Kingz. And these partnerships are based upon us being a utility to them. We basically take and accept their native tokens, whether it's banana, whether it's milk, whether it's our way. We take those tokens in our ecosystem and allow them to play our arcade game, which is our first experience. And when they play the arcade game, they win tickets. You get to bring these tickets to the prize hut to redeem for prizes that allows you to level up your Littles, which outcomes a new collection from there.
Okay.
So It sounds a little bit complicated,
Yeah.
but it's just you going to an arcade pretty much and winning
Gotcha.
prizes. It's
Gotcha.
that
Gotcha.
type of experience we want to have.
Yeah.
And when we're thinking about this, is why are we doing this? The arcade itself is a foundation for us to grow our community in a very organic way. Because not only are we able to take on the 4 official partners right now, now the foundation is built, we can continually take on multiple token communities for months and years to come. That way, we're not stuck with just 4 partners, but rather we have partners that might be up and coming, that might be more relevant, and that allows us to continually be relevant ourselves.
So basically, it's an arcade. People spend their tokens, they play the game, and then they're able to do a free mint.
Exactly. And that allows us to grow our community in a very organic way without having the pressure of like you needing to spend your own ETH and whatnot. But if you want to spend your ETH, yeah, you can. But we just gamify this entire experience. So then that way, once they have their littles, that allows them to participate in our whole ecosystem.
Got you. I know you got to go. I would love to dive more, but unfortunately, we can't right now. But that's totally okay because people can check out the mint, which is coming up. When's the mint coming up?
In September, real soon. And it's going to be an experience that has never been seen before. Truly, I personally love it a lot. It's been shown to a lot of people that have been in this space for a while, and they're like, wow, freaking amazing. And we left nothing on the table.
Okay, great. So September, the new mint's coming up. It's a free mint. So if you want to check it out, make sure to check out all the socials of the Littles, follow them on Twitter and things like that. We'll have links in the description. So with that said, as we go ahead and wrap up, is there any final words you want to leave with our beautiful audience over here?
Thank you, Patrick, so much for your hospitality, for being such a great host. And I mean, we should definitely hop on a part 2. And I definitely apologize that I'm in this environment, personal reasons that are out of my control. We should definitely have a follow-up with this. And I definitely do apologize. And thank you so much for having me here. You're one of the guys that are still building, creating content, even during this bear. And it's very much respected on my end as well. So much love to you and your audience.
Yeah, thanks, Will, for coming on. And everyone else, I'll see you in the next one.
Peace.